Welcome to Chicago Reacts. Today we will be reacting to every single Warhammer faction explained, part 1. If you liked this video and you liked the topic, be sure to subscribe to see more of it.
As someone who doesn't necessarily serve the Omnissiah, but someone who can appreciate them, you will not be getting my legs today, as I will be replacing them with various things depending on which faction we are currently talking about to add a little bit more context and possible comedy to whatever the hell I am currently doing.
Nice.
So, hello everybody, my name is Bricky, and this is going to be a long video and a large project that has been going on for quite some time. This is, I need 2 hands for this. This is every single Warhammer 40k race in kind of a nutshell, explained, a little bit of explanation, a little bit of lore, a little bit of talking about the tabletop, but mostly lore, what they're all about, and also a little bit of background
is everything
for those
I needed.
of you who just have no clue what
Thank
Warhammer
you, sir,
this
for
is the
making
full-
this video.
Now, you see,
The full
Warhammer
explanation
and
of what we
Warhammer
need.
40,000 is a universe people hear plenty of, but don't know a whole lot about.
Yeah,
they see,
that's
oh,
me.
there's these dudes in big power armor with chainsaw swords, and they got these big old green orcs, and there's some bugs over there, and everyone calls these guys weebs, and then there's these spiky bitches over here, and I don't get it. I don't understand. Where do I start? Well, this video is particularly for you, or for those of you who have a little bit of knowledge, but you're kind of curious about each of the different races and factions in Warhammer. So overall, the Warhammer universe is vast when it comes to lore and background, and each different faction is so different with the things they believe
Space
in.
wolves.
And some are human, some are transhuman, like where they all have all these crazy ass electronics on them. You've got aliens, and you've got the chaos factions, and there's so much to entail that I decided to embark on this project to tell you what each and every single one of them is about, and what the Warhammer universe is about as well.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
At least a little bit of an intro to this extremely bloated but very, very enjoyable world that I and many others partake in. So I will be explaining every single faction in the Warhammer 40k universe, at least all the factions
Eldar.
you can play as, and some smaller factions here and there. I will not be discussing absolutely everything in it because that is a little bit much, and I'm not going to go too mega deep into the lore. I'm going to give you a pretty solid overview of each of the different factions, and have you learn a little bit about them, and we'll discuss a little bit of the tabletop as well in case you were curious about that. But for this episode entirely, we are discussing the Imperium of Man, because that takes up a fat chunk of Warhammer lore. What is Warhammer 40,000? Well, the 40,000 starts off is the year 40,000, the 41st millennium. That's where it takes place, is in the year 40,000, 41,000 AD.
Okay.
You're already more knowledgeable. Let me read you a quote, first of many quotes in this video. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 years, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden
centuries,
throne of Earth.
guy. That's
He
like
is the
more.
master
That's
of
1,000
mankind
years.
by the will of the gods, and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim, dark future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. Everything blows. And it blows fucking hard. Warhammer is probably the most dark and depressing universes ever in fiction, or at least like top 3. Everything is so absurdly horrible, destructive, or overpowered that it all kind of ends up canceling itself out. It's like Dota, War rages across the galaxy. Interstellar travel is only possible due to sacrificing 1,000 souls a day to a rotting carcass of a man who you believe to be your god. Demonic gods and just demons tear open the fabric of reality on a whim. Other Xenos or even other humans end up killing each other in untold billions across the galaxy. It is a time of unending war, slaughter, and a bloodbath amongst everybody. Planets are deemed unrecoverable and are completely destroyed on a whim. Everything sucks. But that's like the charm of it. See, everything in Warhammer is evil. But being evil is kind of fun. Like, humanity, in its own right, is a xenophobic, prejudice, and religious zealot group that kill each other just as much as they kill all of their enemies.
That checks out.
And they're
Still
like
doing the thing.
Yeah, that really
to
checks out.
high-tier evil on the
38,000 years
evil scale
later.
of Warhammer. Nobody is good. No matter who you are, everyone is some flavor, some color of evil. Whoever you pick, you are going to be the bad guy. But that's the fun of it. Because being the bad guy is badass. Villains are cool.
That's true.
They look cool. They got cool outfits. They got cool weapons. They got cool armies. Villains are cool, man. And when everyone is a villain, everyone is pretty cool. That's what makes this so charming, is that everyone can be the bad guy. So let's start off talking about the main bad guy, quote unquote, the Imperium of Man.
His hair, whack. His gear, whack.
The Imperium of Man is the main empire of the human race. All of humanity is under this one flag called the Imperium. And about 10,000 years ago, there was a man. He was the Emperor of mankind, a 10-foot-tall psychic demigod who led humanity across the stars to colonize tons and tons of worlds, create superhuman soldiers, and really bring humanity into a new age. This man, the Emperor of Mankind, was a psyker. And a psyker is like a magician of sorts. In the world of 40k, there is the warp, the immaterium, kind of like hell, but sort of like a purgatory dimension of hell.
In
and a
between
psyker is someone who can take that power and manifest it through their mind to use it to do stuff, like witchcraft stuff, magician stuff, spells, and lots of other things, but we don't want to get too into that.
Spell
the
stuff,
Emperor,
witchcraft.
Big boy psyker, top tier, A+, maybe even S. Now, the Emperor created a bunch of sons. Yes, created a bunch of sons known as the Primarks. He created 18 Primarks to have them lead all of the different legions of humanity to the different stars and planets to help colonize and bring it out. These Primarks are basically like little versions of the Emperor. Not all of them are psychers, but a lot of them are very, very powerful, and they lead his special Space Marine legions. Then this big clusterfuck happened called the Horus Heresy, where the Emperor's favorite son, the Primarch, Horus, ended up joining Chaos and leading 9 of the 18, half of his Primarchs directly to Earth to fight down the Emperor himself. Now, if you want to know what Chaos is, remember what I mentioned earlier, the warp, that immaterium, the hellish place? In there relies the 4 Chaos gods. Imagine like Satan and 3 other Satans. The warp being kind of evil, those Chaos gods, that's the reason. And so those Chaos gods manipulated Horus, and then Horus helped manipulate all 8 other Primarchs to lead this giant coup directly on the Emperor on Earth. And they fucked up shit. After this
kind of seems like a biblical
war,
story
Horus
almost.
died,
it's a
but
lot
not
in there.
before brutally wounding the Emperor, and right at the end of his life, they put the Emperor on this large golden throne on Earth, in which he is now alive, just barely, but slowly rotting away, powering something called the Astronomicon, so long as he stays alive, and is fed 1,000 people a day. The Astronomicon is like the North Star. If you want to do interstellar travel in 40k, you need to pass through that demonic warp I mentioned earlier. But how do you know where you're going? Well, the Emperor is there putting a nice little navigator right there. He helps navigate you to know where you're going. If you want to go from Earth to some crazy solar system across the way, you
Yeah, I
need to
do.
go through that warp, and then you need to know where you're going, go through there,
Makes
and
sense.
pop your way out. It's
Okay.
like doing nether travel in Minecraft, so you can shorten the distance between going to areas.
Yeah.
So long as the Emperor is
Alright.
alive and being fed 1,000 people a day to stay alive,
Ouch.
you can do that. The moment he dies,
Oh, Aztec God thing.
interstellar travel's gone for all of humanity.
Oh.
Huh.
You're so boned. Now, since the
Wow.
Horus Heresy,
Real Monopoly
10,000
situation.
years
There's like
ago,
no- yeah,
the
there's no way
Imperium
to
has fallen
make
from
that-
grace substantially.
Don't know how-
All technology has started to dwindle and die. There is now giant fundamental religious extremists that
Makes
now
sense.
believe the Emperor of Mankind was a deity, a true living God,
Hmm.
which is probably the last thing the Emperor would have wanted to be remembered for. So now you have this thing called the
You say that.
Ecclesiarchy,
I don't know.
which is
Sounds a
this
little
giant
bit
church
Yeah.
that's
Maniac.
entirely devoted to spreading the good word of the Emperor. He is now the Holy Emperor God, the God Emperor of mankind, and all of the Imperium has taken up worshiping him to the fullest extent
Okay.
and killing anything that isn't humanity in his name. The
Oh.
Imperium has this futuristic gothic tone to it
Did he ask
and
you
a
to do that?
hefty
Yeah.
religious zealotry.
Is that what he wanted,
If
or
you
is that just what you
anything
think he
against the
wanted?
I'm pretty sure he'd be
that's
happy with
heresy
this.
and you
Huh.
deserve to die. That
Oh.
is called being a heretic. Heretics die in 40k. There is
Okay.
no such thing as freedom of religion. There is no such thing as freedom of speech, so long as you are against the Emperor. There is no such thing as any kind of tolerance. Everyone is a religious zealot. Some more than others, but no matter
This
what,
guy.
you're
Yeah.
preaching that good word. So
Right.
right
Yeah.
now, everyone in humanity is trying to expand their empire across the stars.
You gotta
if
do
you
it.
are a heretic, someone who doesn't believe in the Emperor, you are deserving of death. If you believe in the Chaos Gods, you are also a heretic and you deserve death. If
Whoa.
you are an alien race of any kind, you are a filthy Xenos and you deserve death as well.
racist.
So long
Yeah,
as the
yeah.
murder
Little bit
continues
racist.
and humanity expands, the Imperium of Man is very, very happy. However, the largest fighting force of this Imperium is my personal favorite faction, and the first faction we will discuss, the Astra Militarum, or also known as the Imperial Guard.
Pretty shit now, man. You finished?
Charming.
Man. Game over, man.
The Imperial Guard is the
over,
main
man.
fighting force of the Imperium, and in a world of horrifying creatures, galactic monstrosities, the literal demons themselves breaking through the fabric of time to kill you, the Imperial Guard are untold billions of regular men and women wearing modern day like flak armor with a laser rifle. This is the humble las gun, the main weapon of the Imperial Guard. It fires superheated plasma lasers at an extremely fast fire rate. It is reliable, never jams. It can blow off limbs, giant holes in concrete. It is
Nice.
overall an extremely devastating weapon in modern day. It is one of the weakest in the 40k universe.
Yeah, flashlights,
a
I've
laser
heard of this.
rifle that never jams, it could blow off limbs, one of the weakest weapons. That's the world we're in right now.
Wow.
But
Nice.
who cares?
Okay.
Because the Imperial Guard has, in each battle, 500,000 of these men and women.
All right.
30,000 large armored tanks, 10,000 artillery batteries. The Imperial Guard wins through sheer numbers and firepower. They kind of have this World War I, World War II style aesthetic with legions of guardsmen as well as high company commanders and generals on the field along with them, and multiple kinds of troops. A normal Imperial Guard battle starts off with artillery, long lines of artillery, cracking the crust of the planet underneath the enemy's feet. And as this barrage continues, hundreds of thousands of guardsmen, a sea of guardsmen surges forward, firing and charging at everything possible while the planet rumbles as tanks roll up behind them. Gunships block out the sun and tanks block out the dirt with the steps and hoofprints of millions of guardsmen. It is through numbers and sheer sundering firepower. They are the first and last line of defense for the Imperium and make up a huge bulk of the battles. The Imperial Guard is also made up of tons of different kinds of regiments. The Katachin jungle fighters live in a death world that's more hospitable than almost any firefight they'll ever get into. So they just have this steroid-looking, giant
Rambo.
knife, Rambo predator
Yeah.
sons of bitches, where nothing is anywhere near as scary as a simple knight on their home planet. You have the Valhallan winter soldiers who haven't felt their toes in 300 years, the Mordian Iron Guard, who are more interested in making their shoes shine than actually fighting a battle, and then of course the big one, the Cadians from Cadia.
Something
The
happened.
biggest export of guardsmen in the entirety of the Imperium. You will fire your first gun at 5. You will disassemble and reassemble it at 10. You will have pounding artillery drills day in and day out at 15. And you'll fight your first swarm lord at 16. And if you mention Cadia, you will burst into an unrelenting amount of tears and sadness like I do daily. To quote, I have at my command an entire battle group of the Imperial Guard. 50 regiments, including specialized drop troops, stealthers, mechanized formations, armored companies, combat engineers, and mobile artillery. Over 500,000 fighting men and 30,000 tanks and artillery pieces are mine to command. Emperor, show mercy to the fool that stands against me, for I shall not. The Imperial Guard are my personal favorite faction in 40k. They're the army I collect the most, the ones I enjoy playing the most, and the one I enjoy in the lore sense a lot. There's something about just a regular man with a laser rifle being told to charge the horrors of this universe and willingly doing so for his god emperor. It's just poetic. They actually represent the main Imperial Guard tactics pretty well. Large amounts of artillery that doesn't require a line of sight, lots of tanks, tons of infantry, drop troops, and gunships. Overall, they're pretty similar to how they sound, though a little bit expensive to collect, unfortunately. And they don't hit a lot.
Yeah.
They have a bit of a bad aim, but you don't really care because you're just drowning them in shots. However, if you want more accurate fire and specialization, we can move on to talk about Space Marines.
Space Marines.
Space Marines.
So far,
Wow, there's a lot to take in. Yeah. There's so he says men and women. I don't see photos of women.
yeah, that is.
Makes it a bit more depressing. I mean, like, I like the setup of this universe very much because it's intense. I feel a little sad that 38,000 years from now, like, people are still wearing like World War II stuff because, like, it's a long time ago for them.
Yeah, maybe
You know?
we should move on past the.
It was a
old.
while ago for them, but I don't know. I'm both enjoying thinking about where the foundation of like the real world human inspiration for so much of this lore came from, and how much of this lore has just built upon itself and gone its own way. And clearly there's a ton more to go. But for where humanity's at, I'm just taking it in right now, and then also just wondering, like, you know, the tabletop game, do you usually play as people? Do you play as any of these like Xeno like things? Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
I have to agree. I think that there's something pretty super respectful about like just regular men, you know, like having to face the horrors of endless war.
Yeah.
And have to do it with like.
Yeah, the everyman.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's who you want to relate to. It just I think that's what makes this. I mean, because it's funny because that's what makes this such a depressing universe, that the everyman has absolutely no shot
Yeah.
whatsoever, but still seems like the fan base that cares about this the most would try to seek that out in this universe and be like, that'd be pretty solid. That's, you know, like, you know, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. There. It's just all of humanity just trying to survive, I guess.
Yeah.
especially if you're gonna go up against like orcs, which can multiply
Yeah.
by the billions. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like we said earlier, like it's definitely seems like the universe is stacked against humanity in a really weird way. So
Well, it seems like humanity also causes some of its own problems to itself. Like,
Oh,
what
yeah.
if like they worship like 7 different people instead of just like one dude? Like, what if
Yeah.
things have been a little bit more holistic? But they're like, no, the one guy's got it, and I don't know. So
We're
like,
just saying
there's
keep
an
that guy
emperor, there's a
alive.
dead emperor instead of a dead council of people. I'm just saying, it's it affects how humanity's gonna deal with stuff.
that's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
But I'm digging it. I mean, it would make sense that if things have gotten this bad, they're like, let's just keep whittling it down.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out our other videos. If you want us to react to something, write in the comments below. See you next time.
See ya.